My name is Michael and welcome to the second tutorial of our GActionGroup. Until now we saw how the GActionGroup has action works and we have a good understanding about what GActionGroup means. Now we can move on with the next function. So the function which I'm going to introduce you today, it is because once that we have found out that the action exists, we can basically check if the action itself it is enabled or not, which means this function returns also Boolean and says check if the name action within GActionGroup is currently enabled. An action must be enabled in order to be activated, okay, so now in other words returns true if the current is enabled. So basically we need this function. For this function to make it work, we need to call it, and I'm going to say here check, let's say how should I call it, check get enabled. I think it's a good name. Okay, now let us create this function. Basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a copy of this one, and here I'm going to say check get enabled, and here instead of has action I'm going to call GActionGroup get action. And now because we can say that the action is enabled, so in here the action is not enabled. Now if everything looks good, let me compile it and run it. It says the action select exists and the action select is enabled, which means works fine. Now if we want to check if it really works, we can say now g simple action set enabled, and here we need the action, and of course here I'm going to say select, and now we need a select which goes fast. G action G action G action map lookup action, and here we need the G action map. You should already know what I'm doing right now if you follow my action map, G action map and my G simple action playlist. And here is the application, and of course the name select. Now what I did here, basically I'm searching for an action called select. If we have it, then we store it here, and then with the G simple action set enabled, we are basically G simple action, we are setting to true or false, so not select, sorry, false. Now what I'm doing here, I'm setting the select action to false, and being set to false, this function should be return false. Let's see, the action set exists, the action is not enabled, and if we check here, you see we cannot click it anymore because we just decide to disable it. So basically this is the way how you can be 100% sure how it's working. And that be said, if you combine them both, the check has action with a check get enabled together, then you will basically have a powerful application where you are not messing with things which you should not, and by this I mean you will not make any mistakes, because making mistakes complicates the things. Now the next function which I'm going to introduce you, it is basically a function, let me see, get action state. Yes, I'm going to introduce you this one right now. It says it's a function which returns a G variant and queries the current state of the named action within the action group. So if the action is not stateful, then null will be returned. If the action is stateful, then the type of the return value is the type given. So in other words, we can check if has a state. If have is, then it return it. We know already about the states. We do have states, which means new, open and close. And now let us see how it's working. For this we are going to create again a function, and the function, it will be called get action state, and here of course we need the application and the action name. Application and the action name, which is select in this case. Now let us create this function. Here it says it returns a G variant, so we are going to create the same one. G variant static G variant get action state, and here we need, I'm going to copy these two things right here, and now here inside I'm going to say G variant get state, it will be now pointed to this function, which here says we need action group and the action name. So let me copy this part from here and throw it right here. And now because basically we saved some information here, let us check what information do we have. So I'm going to say if state, if there is indeed a state, which means it doesn't return null, then G print the state of let's say %s, which will be of course our action is %s, which means we need now basically, let me see here, I messed a little bit of things, but I'm going to fix it. Okay, right now. And now here we need the action name, and we need a G variant get string for the value, which is in this case get state, and null because we are not interested in its length at this point. Now let me check if everything looks good. I think so. And now because it looks good, we can say else, and here G print %s has no state, and then we are going to return this state being. Now let me format it a little bit and see if everything looks good. If state, not state, if get state, sorry, if get state, so if we have, yes, I forgot here to say action name, no problem. Let me compile it and run again, and at this point it says the action set exists, the action is not enabled, and the state of cell is open, which is true. Now because this is true, I'm going to stop now with these two calls right here, because I want them to be enabled and true. Let me compile it and run it again. So at this point it says the action select exists, the action select is enabled, and the state of the select is open, which is true. Now the state was changed to new. Of course, now if we choose something else, like for example new, it says new has no state, which is true, because new itself is a state. If we say now action, it will say the same story again, because the action has no state. But we can also check this. You'll see later how you can check these stories to make a difference between having a state and being a wrong action. So basically, before you call this one, I will call this one, and if this one returns true, then I can call this one, because if not, it should be wrong. Something like if, let me show you something. Now if you call the check action, basically now inside right here, and if that action exists, should get action state be called. So in other words, the action, no action with that name was found. You see? So basically, this is how I will do it. Now, if we check the action has action in the if statement, you see, now we have something which is much more interesting, much more better than that. Now I'm going to stop right now. Let me mark this function as done, because we learned about them already, and the other one, okay, at this point we know the story of 3 functions and how they are working. Let me make a little bit smaller and of course mark them as checked. So now we know how we can check if our action has an action, if that action it is an applet or not, and of course we can check also if that action has a state. That being said, thank you guys for watching. If you like it, please subscribe, share with your friends and neighbors, and until next time, see you guys.